And next question, well, the last question from Discord is also from Ozzy. Let's move this here. I'm gonna put this here. With ResoniteLink saying that it will be used to help with future Unity SDK, will it officially be done by Reso team members, or will that be more focused on being a community project? Second question that I'm spotting out. I'll do the second question after. So, with the Unity SDK, it's gonna be an official project, but we're also gonna make it open source, the same way like ResoniteLink is. So like, all the code, it's gonna be built on top of ResoniteLink, and all the code for the Unity SDK is also gonna be open. Our goal is essentially to sort of provide like, the baseline, where this is like, the Unity SDK, here's a bunch of mechanisms to convert, and there's a mechanism to sync like and push stuff through ResoniteLink. But it being open, it'll both allow, community to like improve it, build upon it, and also add like additional converters. Because one of the things the Unity SDK will be doing is taking Unity components, like, for example, Unity's mesh render and like, its collider system and like particle system, and have some logic that converts it to the Resonite primitives or components. And that's gonna be like designed to be modular, where we can like literally write like this is how this is converted. There's a like we're probably gonna provide converters like for like a lot of common Unity components, but you might also want to convert components specific to your project, or maybe components specific to other SDKs if you have like content in those. And it being community based, it'll allow people to contribute more conversions and improve the conversions. Like like if there's, for example, some edge cases or situations that aren't being converted well, people will be able to like help us like improve this. Or maybe you can make a fork, make it work with like your particular project. Maybe you add a bunch of specific converters that are only like special to your project, so you'll be able to build upon it. So it's gonna be both, where we sort of want to provide the fundamentals, the foundation for it, but then also like allow everyone in the community to sort of like expand it, like use it for their own thing, like do pretty much like whatever we want with it. And if some contributions are like general that would benefit other users, we can like then merge those in. For the second question, what is the goal with future Unity SDK? Is it aimed to be a way to develop things for Resonite inside of Unity Editor? Will there be limitations? So limitations are pretty much going to be like whatever tooling is there. With ResoniteLink, you can access pretty much the entire like. Not right now, there's still some pieces missing, but it's designed so you can let you work with the data model. So anything you can build in Resonite, technically you can build through ResoniteLink. The bigger question is going to be, how much tooling is implemented inside of Unity. So, for example, you could, with ResoniteLink, with the Unity SDK, you could build protoflags by just, setting up the components and setting up the references, but you're not going to have Visual Editor. We're very unlikely to actually implement Visual Editor for protoflags for Unity, but it being open opens the door. If anybody in the community wants to do it, they'll be free to do so. So the limitations are going to be like, more along these lines, in how well the tooling is. It's also not going to do, when you're building stuff in Resonite, you get that sort of like immediate feedback, but for some things, you will need to, like, you will need to send it over to Resonite, just to like be able to see like, it actually behave, because anything that exists on the Unity SDK side is not going to have like, it's not going to be able to actually run the behaviors. Even something, say like a spinner component. You put a spinner, you could with with the Unity SDK, you could put a spinner component, but you won't be able to like, to kind of tweak it and see it actually spin, because it doesn't have any actual code for the behavior. It's sort of like just defining the structure. But again, if somebody wants to contribute and like add a little bit of code that like, lets you preview that, that's a possibility. It might like, might be complications where like it might not be fully in sync with how the component behaves on Resonite, where it's like actual because that depends a lot of data model stuff and other things, so that might make things a little bit more complicated. But in general, if people want to like use the Unity SDK to build stuff, they'll be able to. You can use it to build new projects. We generally would recommend people like to build stuff in Resonite. But it like, you know, we're not gonna like stop people from like using it if they really want to build things in Unity. This is a method to do it. And one thing I think that will actually also help is the way we plan to implement the Unity SDK and is one of the reasons why ResoniteLink, you can just, you know, enable it on, you know, in the Resonite session, is that you enable like, you know, ResoniteLink, and then you build your stuff in Unity, you send it over to Resonite, and then like you can literally have like Resonite running and you can have Unity running side by side, and then you just send your stuff from Unity into Resonite, see what it does, how it behaves, you know, and then like modify it in Unity and sync it back into like, you know, Resonite, and it's gonna, you know, update whatever thing is in there, whatever's already like sent, because it's gonna remember, you know, stuff that's in there. So it's what's the word? It's potential, you know, workflow that's opened up with this. But also like one of the main goals for the Unity SDK is also to ease sort of entry to Resonite for a lot of existing users. If they have like existing avatars, existing content for other platforms, this will make it easier to bring it over, you know, to sort of give those users a head start. But hopefully, like, you know, once people burn their content, like, you know, they'll start also like using the Resonite tools to, you know, build upon that content, modify it, you know, do more with it. And it's kind of like, you know, one of the kind of motivating factors. But in general, the motivation is like, you know, open up new workflows that were not possible before. The other motivation is, you know, making it open so people can expand and improve those workflows. We can give, you know, everyone in the community more power this way. And also, like, it's sort of like a way for us, like, you know, doing more like testing waters, like making more sort of open source kind of projects for Resonite, because we want to do more of this and kind of seeing, you know, how this works, you know, sort of testing the waters. This kind of gives us, you know, some valuable experience and feedback on how we approach things, and, you know, maybe open up like more parts of the engine, you know, for community contributions and expansions. So there's like multiple sort of motivations and goals, and I feel like the Unity SDK and the ResoniteLink are good ones because they're very suited for this, and they're very, you know, there's not too much risk of like things, you know, exploding, because like if we, for example, opened like, you know, say some parts of the engine that are more sensitive to compatibility issues, we might have like, you know, some contributions and people contribute something and suddenly lots of content breaks. With ResoniteLink, you know, it's not like modifying anything in how things work in Resonite, it's allowing it to send stuff over. So there's not like, you know, risk of that happening, and it kind of makes it's like a bit safer way to kind of, you know, see how this sort of works out.